Hey all. Today we're going to be talking about an anime released in winter of 2020 called Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. So this is an anime following three high school girls, all of which form a club with the sole purpose of creating an anime film, that is. So each of these girls brings something unique to the table when it comes to the creation of the anime. One of which is the creative director, the storyboard person, the person who creates the story and also helps with the animation. Another is a lead animator who does most of the animation work, and one of which is the producer, the person who is able to raise the funds so they are able to do this. Now, when it comes to this type of concept, or really when it comes to creating an anime about creating anime, it has to execute on one thing, which is the viewer has to feel the love for the genre. For example, if you're doing an anime about basketball, what you want for that anime is for me to leave after an episode being like, I want to play basketball, or I want to watch basketball, or there has to be some sort of love felt for basketball. And the same is true when it's about anime, when it's about creating anime. And this is where the show has its biggest success. You could feel the love for the platform in which it participates in, the love of animation and anime in general. And just you could see that in so many of the small details they focus on when they are focusing on this major goal of creating some animated films. And not just the imagination part, although the imagination part is great, also what it takes to produce a film, how to get the money, some of the creative decisions you have to decide on to get funding. I think it's a really fascinating show that really is one of, if you love anime, you will clearly love it even more after watching this show because you feel the love that the creator has and the team has for the genre which they are competing in. And let's specifically talk about the imagination versus the realism, which is a big theme within the show. When the show focuses on the imagination of creating an anime, the creative effort, it's really nice. Like, characters will go on to these daydreams, but we of course see the daydreams because we can, because it's animated. But you feel the childlike imagination coming from these characters, and that's not something you can fake easily. We all have that childlike imagination that is nice to be tapped into, and I really do think the show does a great job of viewing that out. And even with some of the sound choices, that's just when we are in these animation scenes, these daydream scenes, they don't use, like, it could have been so easy to just use, for a drill, use a real drill sound effect. But instead, they're using the characters voicing out a drill like a child would do. It's really makes the show feel creative and has its own style, and really takes the viewer into the imagination of these characters and the goals. But also, the show is centered in the real world, and, like, I will say the character of Kanamori, which is the producer character of the three girls, who isn't as creative but is very centered in the real world, she's the best character of the show by far. She carries the show when it comes to bringing it back down to the real life world and adding a levelness to it. And that's a really tough character to do, but she nails it incredibly. Everything about her character, in my opinion, really works. And she's just likable, understanding. Like, it's very easy for these types of shows to kind of like put the producer as someone who's not important to the process, someone who's only there to make the process worse or the end product worse. But this show doesn't take the easy way out. It shows the producer as an integral part to creating this animated film. It shows the producer as really the most realistic and understanding character within the show. And yes, she can be a little greedy or money hungry at times, but for the most part, it's really well done. And the show really shows off how important a producer is to a project like this, which I appreciate. It's very easy to show how important the creative process is and how having creative people in charge, but to do that for a producer, I really think is interesting. I really like. And overall, I think the show is just well done. It's tough to explain it any other way. Every little thing is well done. The problem with that, though, is because every little thing is well done, that's sometimes not always easiest to notice. Like, the show succeeds, as I said before, in the small details. However, the problem is you don't always notice the small details. So if you're a person who doesn't really notice the small details of amazing sound design, great character animation, really well done. Like, the story isn't a small thing, but like the story is, in fact, very mundane. It's not one of those like stories that grabs you or really like grabs you in a way that's like, oh, I know why this works right away. It's a very mundane story that has a lot of small creative tricks that makes it work. But the problem is, if you don't know those small creative tricks, maybe you'll think the story is just kind of like a mundane thing that's kind of boring. So you have to keep in mind of that. Are you the type of person who will notice these small details, or does it have to be more obvious? And an interesting thing about the show, which I think has also turned some people away from it, it starts like up here, but it doesn't go up or down. For the whole show, it stays at this level of quality, which is really, really good level of quality, but we're used to starting maybe here and goes up and up and up and up, and then reaches a peak, and then maybe slowly comes down at the end to kind of cool off. This type of show starts up, but stays up the entire way instead of having a normal peak that most shows do. And for some people, that may look at that and be like, well, the show's not getting better. And it's one of those shows where I think you can tell early on if you're going to like it or not. But I think it's a show that's worth trying out for everyone, because if people don't understand why people in general, certain people love animation, love anime as a genre, this is the type of show that shows the love for the genre and what anime can do and why it's a great genre. It's one of those shows that, like, it makes any anime fan, in my opinion, just kind of appreciate the genre more. Even if you don't love the show, you just appreciate the work and the journey that takes the characters to the end goal of creating an anime. So I would really recommend it. But I know this isn't. I wouldn't say this is a show for everyone because of some of the details I mentioned earlier. But it truly is an incredible show, in my opinion, and it really touched me in the right way. So that is my review. Thank you all for coming, and more anime reviews to come. Check out LGR for all the other reviews we got going, and see you all next time.